How do you see the past of the Carpathian Foundation? How do you see the importance of the creation of the Carpathian Foundation in the 90s?
Well, looking back at the early 90s when the Carpathian Foundation was created, I think we need to realize the situation which was at that time in the region, in Central Eastern Europe, which was characterized by collapse of the basically former states or empires, whether it was the Soviet Empire or former Czechoslovakia, but especially the former Yugoslav Federal Republic. And as we know, it was followed by clashes and conflicts, especially driven by inter-ethnic and inter-religious tensions. So one of the main objectives of promoting cross-border cooperation in this region and also in creating Carpathian Euro-region was to prevent such possible clashes and tensions by promoting specific areas of cross-border cooperation. Now, the foundation itself was very much driven by this spirit and philosophy. When we realized that it is important to have a source of financial support for many small cross-border initiatives which started in the region. But at that time, we didn't have European financial instruments such as we have today. Different forms of financial cross-border cooperation instruments, and that's why it was impossible to support financially these types of cross-border cooperation. And the Carpathian Foundation, which was very much based on a model of community foundation, was supposed to create the source of financial support for such cross-border activities.
What you see that what are the main challenges in these days?
Well, I think the Carpathian Foundation, through its history, showed that there was a strong reason for creating such institution, and I think if we didn't create Carpathian Foundation, there would have to be some other institution to be established to promote such cross-border cooperation, but also local and regional development in these underdeveloped parts of the countries. So the foundation itself proved to be an important element of promoting both regional and local development, but also cross-border cooperation. Now, of course, the situation changed since the time of the creation of the Carpathian Foundation. Most of the countries, except for Ukraine, are members of the European Union, members of the NATO. They are, of course, somewhere else in terms of economic development. There are more opportunities for economic support, financial support of such cooperation. But still, challenges remain. One challenge certainly common for all these countries is the situation in Ukraine. Ukraine, unfortunately, is still in the stage of uncertainty, conflict on its eastern border, very weak statehood and weak economic situation. So I think one element which continues to be important for cross-border cooperation in this region is to use cross-border cooperation as a way to support Ukraine and to also bring Ukraine closer to Europe. Secondly, it has proved to be important that different members of the Carpathian Foundation family, basically local offices of the Carpathian Foundation, that they promote local development in their own national borders, whether it's in Eger or in Košice or in Krosno or Rzeszów or Užhorod or in Romanian part. These countries and these regions, border regions, they still face important challenges because unfortunately these regions continue to be underdeveloped and facing severe social challenges. That's why each of these local foundations or local offices of the Carpathian Foundation, they have their own needs in terms of the national challenges in the national context. And then, of course, I think the new challenge which we have to address is the issue of migration. And this region is basically on the way, one of the routes of migration from the east, from Central Asia and Eurasia to the west. And I think it's important that we also find a way how this Carpathian Foundation or the offices and members of the Carpathian Foundation family, how they find a way how to deal with the issue of migration to Europe.
Okay. The third question, because we discussed the role of the civil society within the Carpathian Euro region. So how do you see the role of the civil society in these days?
Well, civil society, in my opinion, went through a process of evolution in the region. There was, those who were in the non-profit or the NGO sector in 90s, remember there was a lot of attention to supporting building civil society roots because of the need to create a civil society after the collapse of communism. And there was a lot of support in 90s from different foundations, whether it's from the United States or from Asia, like Sakharov Peace Foundation, or from the European sources. Then later, it seems to me that the attention to civil society and importance of civil society went down. And in a way, with the entry to the European Union, there was a feeling, which I think was a false feeling, that now the civil society is strong enough and there is no need for a special attention to civil society. Now I think we realize that civil society is still something that requires support because also economy is now much more bottom-up, network-based economy through internet and through new types of technologies which require citizens to be actively engaged in civil life, but also in the economic development. So I think that there is I would say, a new way how civil society needs to be supported and addressed. And this is also where Carpathian Foundation and its local offices can play a special role. It means how do we tackle and promote and support civil society in the new context of globalized civil society, globalized world, new challenges in terms of migration, climate change, and so on, where the role of citizens has I would say, a new meaning. First of all, we should be proud of having created such institution as the Carpathian Foundation, because this was a completely new idea, very pioneering, very bold at that time. Those who were engaged in the early years of the Carpathian Foundation know that we had to deal with many people, extremists, xenophobes, etc., who were kind of scared of this type of bottom-up and civil society-driven institution. So I think we should be proud of what was done, what has been achieved. Secondly, I think that we should persevere in our efforts. I think, unfortunately, in Central Europe, we see some trends which are not very encouraging. I don't want to mention specific countries, but I think we see that civil society and democracy is not completely 100% assured. That, unfortunately, there are forces and there are situations which still endanger democracy and the roots of democracy and liberal thinking in this region. And that's why I think it's important that we continue to work together, that we continue to work across borders, that we combine our forces to support democracy, civil society. And now, because of the situation in Ukraine, I think it's very important that we keep Ukraine very much engaged, and that I would say the primary focus, I think, should be for the Carpathian Foundation and for the network of local offices to bring Ukraine closer to common cooperation.